what I'm doing is I'm just gradually at my own rate building my personal brand, building my own list to release more scalable offers such as like mini courses and some coaching programs and things like that. But yeah, the vast majority of my revenue today comes from list management and copywriting services for clients.
No, your bio said that you now focus on just living a simple life, writing emails for your clients. Tell us a little bit more about that. So did you, basically, that's what you do for a living these days? You just take over someone's list and you start and you manage it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So it could look like a copywriting engagement where someone just needs sequences written or ongoing emails produced, ongoing campaigns week to week. And sometimes it's one-off projects, sometimes recurring. But basically, I thought about my business and like, to me, for better or worse, I want to have a pretty, simple life. Like I value having lifestyle benefits of, being my own boss and, the freedom and flexibility to travel when I want, where I want and stuff like that. And then, in terms of like a more scalable offerings, what I'm doing is I'm just gradually at my own rate building my personal brand, building my own list to release more scalable offers such as like mini courses and some coaching programs and things like that. But yeah, the vast majority of my revenue today comes from list management and copywriting services for clients.
Okay, cool. That's actually a pretty solid gig. Um, I know some people who make as much as, I mean, some months like close to 20 grand just managing a list, just sending out daily emails.
Yeah, and it's especially good if you can find like what I've done is like I've some of my clients, I'll work with them for a period of time, sort of prove my worth, prove I can deliver results, and then I've managed to negotiate a couple deals where it'll be like a mix of a base plus a bonus if I deliver certain tiers of revenue, and they're happy to pay it because obviously you're bringing them more money and your incentives are aligned, so it can be a win-win and a good opportunity for you to as the copywriter to do pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other part I love about this as a gig, it really is you get to you get to test a lot. Basically, you just get to play around with ideas and run different things, different offers, different angles, different positioning plays, and you get to learn what's working, what's not working, what sort of campaign structure works better, and this and that. So maybe, I mean, you're pretty good at conceptualizing what you learn. You're pretty good at summing it up in resources that you share with your list. Perhaps you could share a few big findings, some big things you've discovered as a result of kind of diving deep into email marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, so I think a lot of my methodology fundamentally is based on, some of the earlier OGs of email, like Ben Settle, Matt Fury, and a lot of these kind of folks that paved the way for a lot of us. And recently, what I've found is like adding a few twists to that methodology at the format level. I think I've noticed some cool things like. For one, it's like I'll do like for my own list and also for some clients' lists, I've found good results from really breaking up and pattern interrupting the format. So
Oh yeah.
instead of yeah, so I think one time you replied to one of my emails that did this, um, but basically I did this one email one time where the first paragraph, instead of being a traditional paragraph, it basically went all the way down the left side of the screen. So the first sentence kind of ran down and then it gradually sort of
Dude, that
veered in.
was so good though. I mean,
Thanks, man.
talk about standing out. A lot of people don't get that. A lot of people, it doesn't matter if they do email or not, they just don't understand the whole idea that we have a brain that works a certain way. It really helps, like when you're marketing, to study the brain, at least the way the brain makes decisions on day to day. And one of the things that the brain does quite a bit and very quickly too, when you get into an environment of any kind, it starts looking for patterns and it starts looking for things to ignore. So if you're browsing the web or you're reading your inbox and everything looks kind of like every other email looks a certain way, you quickly learn to just ignore it, right?
Yep.
In fact, a lot of people, again, don't realize this, but the way people check their email these days is not looking for what am I going to read. First, they're going to scan the inbox and be like, okay, checkbox, 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 all these four emails, delete, because I know for a fact I'm not going to read these. I don't need to read these emails right now. So if people only understood that, it would make them much better email marketers in the long run. I mean, you obviously get that. And that email was absolutely epic. I immediately forwarded to my guy, and I was like, "We have to do this. We absolutely have to do this. This is one of the most brilliant things I've seen in a while."
Awesome, man. Well, that I'm flattered. Thank you for that. And honestly, that email compared to like historical results of mine, that one pulled very well. It drove a lot of sales, and it also drove a lot of people replying, such as yourself, being like, "Yo, this is the sickest email ever." So that's kind of cool. So like that could be something you can experiment with. And I think the principle there is like not only do you want to stand out from everyone else that you're like competing with or that whose attention you're kind of competing with, but you also kind of want to stand out from yourself because over time there's a like banner blindness occurs, and I actually use this email to kind of teach this concept. But if someone constantly knows that your emails take a certain shape, it can get boring. So I recommend to switch it up, and a really easy variable to test across is just format. So short, long, formatted like this, formatted like that. So that's kind of one thing I would say. Another big kind of learning I've been discovering a lot lately, especially if you're selling higher ticket programs. And like when I say high ticket, that could really be anything above like $1,000. I know that some people charge massive amounts of money, some people less, but let's say anything above say $1,000, where it's a bit more of a considered purchase than buying like a $99 course. Um, I found if you have the bandwidth internally to support it, you can get great results by asking people to reply back with one word, and then sort of chase up those deals somewhat manually and in a personalized way, versus just sending people to like a sales page or something like that. Now, mind you, like I'm sure there's probably people who have it dialed in and can do that with webinars and stuff. But if you're struggling to get people to raise their hands for any high ticket services or like coaching programs, getting people to reply has been extremely, extremely effective for me.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, it's a few. It gets you points for deliverability too, meaning that
Yes.
if people are replying to your emails after you mass email them, I mean, even if it's an opt-in list, you're still sort of like blasting through a certain type of IP and service, which obviously Gmail understands. Getting replies to your emails is a good sign of list health, and therefore you get rewarded for inboxing more. You know, you on the if there's like a scale from 0 to 100, 100 being you will inbox every time, and zero you will never inbox, never even get to the spam, then you obviously get a few more points every time somebody replies back to your emails. And actually, my buddy Jonathan Montoya was telling me about how he's got several assistants specifically there for that, where he would email his list of like 80,000 people, and he would be like deliberately asking them to respond so then he can actually reply back. So his team would go in and reply back to keep the conversation going to further develop that deliverability. And he's getting crazy high open rates. I mean, he shared that I think he's been getting like 40+% on an 80,000. I mean, something
Wow.
just ridiculous, out of this world ridiculous, you know?
Very cool. Yeah, definitely has that benefit. And like some people just like having a conversation before they buy, right? And even if it's just over email, and like it also gives you as the seller the advantage of if someone replies and they have say like a corporate domain, or their business domain listed, then you can kind of make your subsequent touch points a bit more personalized to them because you can check out their website and whatnot. So um, yeah, that's something that has been a bit of a breakthrough, and I would recommend, especially if you have a smaller list. I find that's a really good way to shake some big numbers out of it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So which industries or niches did you work like in this capacity so far?
Yeah, so it's funny. I've sort of like positioned myself. I think because of what I'm maybe interested in, and like with like coaches and course creators. So basically anyone that's like a personal brand expert and who needs to like, needs to generate trust through like storytelling based emails to sell either a course or a coaching program. So that's kind of, I've done some of that, but to be honest, like my clients, the ones that actually hire me to like fully like manage their lists and stuff like that, a lot of them are well, one of them, for example, is like in the industrial, they sell like industrial chemicals. So they're more of like an ecom play, business to business. So that's been an interesting client. And then, I also work with like, there's like an executive coaching partnership is another one of them. But what I've found is a lot of kind of individual solopreneurs who, maybe don't have massive lists, maybe don't have massive budgets just yet. For them, what I've done is I've done like I do more coaching. So I sort of teach them how to fish and help them figure it out. But then I'm able to save time and thus give a bit of a price break by not actually like custom writing all the copy. So the majority of my like coaching clients that I help, they fit in the sort of like coach or solopreneur bucket. Whereas those who actually hire me outright, it can be everywhere from like software, ecom, and also that same profile.
Interesting. Well, what's it like to write emails for a chemical company?
It's kind of funny because like my background's in chemical engineering, so like I went to
Okay.
school for that. So it's kind of worked out funny that I ended up like they were actually one of my first clients that I sort of landed in this capacity. So it's kind of funny how that worked out just sort of randomly. But it's pretty good. Like we take honestly the same principles that I'm sending when I'm sending my own list emails every pretty much every day now, which is just like personality, bit of like infotainment, like you said, and then pitch for the product. It helps with that particular industry, frankly, because it's pretty much a lot of these buyers they need to like repeat buy. There's a high repeat buyer rate. So I think, and that's like maybe a tip if anyone in your audience is listening and they're considering like going and like offering a service like mine, is that if you can align yourself to a client that would do pretty well with or without you, that's a really good bonus for yourself because it's much easier to come in and sort of pour fuel on a fire than it is to like rub two sticks together to try to start a fire.
No, that's absolutely true. Anytime I work with anyone who we actually do have a program where we teach people how to do this for a living, and one of the criteria, they have to be making at least six figures a year. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard for them to justify keeping you, no matter how well you do, no matter how well the emails you write, no matter how great of a sequence you're going to build, no matter if you're going to fix their email deliverability. They have to be making decent money for them to be able to say something like, "Hey, I'll pay you 2, 3, 4 grand a month to manage my email list because I know how important that is for my company, and just because it makes a lot of sense, because of all the free time you're freeing up, because of all the extra money you're going to be bringing in. Plus, if they're making six figures or multiple six figures, preferably, one good campaign will cover your cost as a freelancer, right, to that company, and then some. So keeping
Yep.
you will not be it'll be a no brainer. Like they won't have to keep convincing themselves that that they should be keeping you for one more month or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes things a lot easier when it's a solid business, a solid offer, it just makes things a million times easier.
Yeah. So so writing emails for other people, and then also obviously I can tell you're gearing up to do your own thing as well. It's quite clear that you seem to be enjoying the coaching side of
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah, I am. I like that.
So so what do you enjoy more? Writing emails or coaching about writing emails?
Yeah, like if to be honest, I think if I'm being really honest with myself, I think I prefer working with people and helping them learn how to do some or all of this stuff themselves, or helping them, get unstuck in one capacity, which I know for a fact from my own journey will just make their whole, the rest of their career in this field a lot easier. You know, so what I really need to do is and I need to keep building that out to make it, like sustainable for me for the kind of life I want to lead. And the other part of it is like it's it's a pretty good gig if you can get like a small roster of good clients that keep you on retainer for a while, and that can really sustain that. But I think long term, I would like to be in a position where I at least have the option to phase out or even more reduce down the amount of done for you work I'm doing and focus all in on my own business, whether that's specifically, like teaching email marketing or whether it's something a little bit different. But yeah, I just find it really rewarding, like working one-on-one with people, or not even one-on-one, but helping people figure this out, because it's, you see the light bulbs go off, and that's really cool.